Hi, my name is Pam Colleen, and welcome to my podcast, Circadian Reboot, where I like to discuss everything circadian. And today's show is about protecting and preserving our local farmers. The reason why this ties into the subject of circadian is because eating local foods tunes your body to your immediate environment by syncing your internal clock and energy production with local sunlight, seasons, and natural rhythms. And thankfully, we have a farmer here in Canada who is fighting for the rights of our farmers, where too much government overreach is infringing upon their ability to farm. So today I'm pleased to announce that we have a second visit from Katie Pasitney, who is the courageous farmer from British Columbia who has been tirelessly fighting to protect her beloved ostriches. If you'll remember Katie from our conversation back in May, episode 32, where she shared her story about standing up to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and their regulations that have been threatening her farm. I'm happy to report that all of Katie's ostriches are still alive, despite ongoing pressures. But her battle continues, and it's now reaching a crucial turning point. Katie is heading to the federal court in Ottawa for a critical appeal on July 15th, 2025. To support Katie and her fellow farmers, a fundraiser kicks off tomorrow, July 11th, aiming to raise awareness and crucial resources for their legal challenge. In fact, this weekend, from July 11th to the 13th, she is hosting a concert at her farm in Edgewood, British Columbia. If you can't attend the concert, please visit her website, www.farmaidcanada.com, to contribute in any way that you can. As she says, this is more than a concert. It's a stand for justice, truth, and the future of farming in Canada. So please show your support. Katie Pasitney, thank you so much for joining me again with an update about what's happening with your ostriches on the farm. And as I understand it, you've been really, really busy lately. I mean, you've had a lot of media attention because people like Dr. Oz and RFK Jr. have stepped up and said, let us know what we can do to help. And yet I think you're still going through the courts systems. I'm just wondering what is happening, if you can give us an update. I know you have one dead ostrich as well that was potentially shot by a sniper drone of sorts. And I know that investigation has been ongoing. So there's lots to cover in this update. And I'm wondering if you want to just take the reins here and start with some of the more important points.
Sure. So thank you again, Pam. The messages are also important to get out there, and you get so many out there. Thank you for all your work. It has been 176 days today. Absolutely happy, healthy ostriches that are of no asymptomatic, and that we are still being threatened with 6 months in jail, $200,000 fine if we test or treat them. And so 176 beautiful days, though. They've been long days. And we are headed to Ottawa for an appeal. That'll be July 15th at 9:30 in the morning. We will be in Ottawa at the DRC McGee building. And we have a great lawyer, really great counsel right now. He's just really throwing the kitchen sink at it. Omar Sheikh, he has really put great submissions together. He's really looking at, his background is constitutional law, common law. He did practice in the U.S. and then, so he's very well versed in a lot of these problems. We have we'll start with that bird that you were talking about. That is still under investigation. It's all, speculation, and up until they come up with their investigative analysis. But we have had 2 ostriches that have been shot on the farm or killed in that 6 months that we've been fighting for their lives.
These are ostriches that were shot by an overhead drone, or 2 different types of shootings?
2 different. So one would have been, it was out in the field. It just looked, the shot, and this is, in my opinion, this is where the police really need to do their investigation. But there was an entry wound by the top of the ear, and it ended up like almost opening the neck, and an exit wound. So we don't know what that is. This was an ostrich sitting in the middle of the field. It happened very fast, you can tell, because he just stayed positioned where he was. If it was a predator or something like that, we would have seen they fight. So there would have been more of a situation. But so we were really heavily just relying on our local RCMP to be following through with that investigation. We have a very small RCMP detachment up here, so nothing really has come forth of that, but we will keep you posted. It's really sad to see in the position that you're in when you're fighting for your animals that these things are taking place. Just bringing to light the fractured and flawed systems of some of these organizations that hold way too much power. That we shouldn't be in this position. We're in this position based off 2 PCR tests done in December, with no wiggle room at all with Canadian Food Inspection Agency allowing us to perform any independent testing, which all of us farmers deserve the right to independent testing. This is our land. These are our animals. These are not their animals. And we deserve to be treated like the experts in our industries that we are. And a nation, what we're seeing and trying to is a nation united can change its future. And I believe we can really come together here as Canadians. We can become united. We can stop the division. It's really sad to see sometimes during these things, momentum as well, the division that starts to happen. Everybody has different theories. Everybody has different beliefs. But at the end of the day, I think we need to remind ourselves that it's what we do to come together that's going to make the biggest change possible. And what we're fighting for is something that we all want, and that is sustainable food, nutritious and healthy food. Our farmers to continue to care and be the experts with their animals, the freedom to our land, our rights not to be taken away from us, policies that are going to work for our farmers and our citizens our Canadian citizens, not work against us. And our farmers are being attacked right now, and it was the truckers. They were the heroes, then they were villainized. Frontline workers, heroes, villainized. Now they're coming after the agricultural industry, which has been our backbone to sustainable, nutritious food for generations. And they're trying to villainize us now for standing up for our animals.
Now, this is a very important point, because as we get into this interview, as we get into this update, listeners are going to say, well, why should I care? Why should I care about these ostriches? They have nothing to do with me. We don't eat them. These are not birds that are going to end up on our dining room tables. And I think you just summarized why everybody should care about this, because these types of policies that are affecting you as an ostrich farmer who is doing research, this is not raising ostriches for food. This is ostriches as a research project. But as these policies adversely affect you, they can adversely affect virtually every farmer in Canada. And we need to adjust these policies so farmers can indeed farm the way that they want to, as the stewards of their land as they are. This is insane, the type of constraints that are being put upon you guys.
Pam, that is said so beautifully, because we are the stewards of the land, and that is at jeopardy of being lost right now. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency, they operate with excessive operational freedom, no accountability. And the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has been doing this for decades. So the stamping out policy, which all farmers need to become very aware of, has been in operation for decades. Stamping out is not working. We are seeing the stamping out of natural immunity, loss of biodiversity, lack of genetic diversity. We are seeing, which is in turn, in my opinion, it's resulting in more viruses, because you start to see, they did the H5N1, talking about H5N1, but then it's tuberculosis, Newcastle's disease in pigeons, virus in pigeons. Here we have the loss of natural immunity, which is the most powerful, it's the most powerful system on earth. It's our natural immunity, our antibodies, our ability to recover, and our bodies to work for us, not against us. But if we start eradicating and killing off natural immunity, then we have more susceptibility to zoonotic diseases, mutation in viruses. And if they come to your door, and imagine them coming to your door and saying, based off suspicion, which is in their policy, they can do, based off suspicion, we have reason to believe you have tuberculosis. So we're going to kill all of your animals. And they have that right. That is the power that these organizations that are holding. That is way too much power. And we need to just put that power in check, and remember who has the power. And it's the people that have the power. We have the power as the experts in our industries with our agricultural sector. The frontline workers that dedicate their lives to being nurses and doctors are the experts. They have the power. Their voices should mean something. And another thing they can do is come to your door based off, 2 PCR tests. They can come and take 2 PCR tests ran at high cycles off 2 animals and never have to test another one. They don't have to monitor. They don't have to retest. They don't have to give you options. They do not need to work with you as an individual farmer. They also, how we got here was an anonymous tip to the bird flu H5N1 line. So your neighbor could be disgruntled, upset with you about maybe he's tired of hearing your rooster crowing every morning, and you guys had a tiff. He could call the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, report anonymously that he's sure that you have avian influenza, and they could come in and kill all of your chickens that are your hobby chickens that give you the most peace and serenity. That's where you go sit. That's your love. That's your life. And the cattle farmers, they're making it hard for everybody to farm. But then that's where they don't want us to have control of the growth of the food. They don't want us to have control of the food. He who controls the food controls the people, which I've read in many places. And the government is doing a really good job at that. They want us to be eating their synthetic meat and their lab-grown meat and their whatever they want to add into it. They want to push us out of our rural areas, take away our freedoms, and they want to push us into their smaller 15-minute cities. I didn't know how much that rang a bell and how much that really rings through all of this and until this journey, but you can't not see that when you're in the journey that we're on. And
listen, they've worked out the science around vertical integration now for decades, right?
Yeah.
It's all about profit. Yeah. It doesn't have anything to do with quality. It's all about control and profit. And so like herding together the animals, herding together the chickens, they want to vertically integrate us. I mean, it's their model, and everything in that supply chain is all controlled, and there are shareholders behind everything. So forget your freedoms. Exactly. But in order to get a healthy, viable system back, we have to start drawing a line in the sand and saying, no, this insanity has to stop. I want to be able to obtain local grass-fed beef, pastured chicken, raw milk. The government shouldn't be telling me what I should be eating, especially when what they're endorsing is such low quality.
That's right. I think we need to really pay attention right now, stand up before it's too late. We have amazing momentum with the situation. Remove the ostriches out of this situation, but there's international support in a cause that is garnering so much attention and the same desire of change. Everybody wants to see change here, and we have that ability. We see Trump on July 4th just passed a bill that is giving more rights and protection to the agricultural sector again. They're stopping culling and stamping out, which is a huge thing for one of our largest trading partner. And I really think that that's a precedence that the world needs to really look at. Stamping out.
That's the United States. That's the United States. Yeah. Is Canada going to follow suit on something like that, especially with these types of policies that they're trying to impose on people like you?
And that's right. It's a big question, but we could only hope that the precedents being set is something that would reflect what we should be doing here. I always like to open every day with my feet on the ground, a little bit of prayer and a lot of hope. We're 176 days still alive because of people like you and people who continue to support us all across the world, saying that none of this makes sense and we deserve the right to stand up for change. What's happening with the ostriches, it's more than a farm story. It's a symbol, I think, for our country. And we're seeing that support because of that reason. Do we let outdated systems, destroy hope? Or do we stand together and do we all protect what's right? And we have that ability here to take the moment, remember who's really truly in power. The people are in power. We need to, speak compassion, we need to speak love, we need to speak courage, we need to speak strength. And that's become the mission here at Universal Ostrich Farms, is to stand up for all the Canadian farmers that are getting steamrolled in this situation because they don't have the money, they don't have the means. We don't have the money, we don't have the means. But what we did gain was the momentum and the compassion and the love and the support of all Canadians and international support. And that is something that we can use to help all those other farmers out there, not just us, by changing policy that Canadian Food Inspection Agency operates with excessive freedom, no accountability, and absolutely too much power. They had a 2018, 2021 audits that they failed miserably. I found a bunch of documents from 2004, 2005, so this is decades ago. And those documents showed their conversations and how the CO2 gassing and of all these, the survivors, the dead ones, the sick ones die. But when you're killing animals, they're alive, they're healthy, they're working through their immunity, and those documents show the suffering and the pain that these animals are being caused.
So you're talking about the mass culling of, say, a chicken barn or what have you, and they're killing them using CO2, and it doesn't kill all of them, it kills 60% of them, and so the rest of them are going to die a very slow, painful death.
Well, and in that document, it was saying that there's many animals that are all left half alive. It's a very dark story, but we all need to be aware of it because this is inhumane. This is an animal welfare program or welfare problem. In 2004, 2005, they stated that even farmers should feel like they're visitors in their own barn. And that's decades ago that this has been their mentality, that this is where they've been, what they've been thinking. They also stated that it should be illegal to have cows and chickens and pigs on one property. Well, what was happening in the 1800s when we were homesteading? And there is a successful approach, and that is, they do have it. It's called the burning out approach. You allow the virus or whatever is going through, what's happening in your barn, you treat them, you care for them like the experts you are, but you allow it to just run its course through the animals. You dispose of the ones properly as the experts you are. You follow protocol and proper disposal and clean up. But the ones that survive are the ones that we should be breeding the most. The ones that are surviving are the ones that we should be eating their eggs. They should be having as many chicks as possible because those antibodies get passed down into their young. So we're doing it all wrong, and by we're stamping out natural immunity, and it's going to have a massive catastrophic failure of chain of events in humanity if we don't stop it.
So what is the end game now? You are going to Ottawa for the appeal. What is the outcome that you're looking for here?
The outcome is that they're going to see that if we had just been another farm that couldn't fight, didn't stand up, and didn't have the fight in us, all these animals would have already been slaughtered, murdered, and here we are 176 days, a recovered flock, because we allowed natural immunity, antibodies, their own antibodies to take course. And now we have the potential to have, we have some ostriches out there that are 35 years old, most in their 20s. And so we should have decades longer with our animals. And these
I
animals,
understand they live till about 75. They live till they're about 75.
yeah, they can. Yeah,
Hmm.
they've been on the earth for millions of years for a reason, because they have such an amazing immune system. They're 9 feet tall. They're the largest bird in the world. They run at 45 kilometers an hour, lay an egg every second day. They're pretty cool animals. But
Yeah.
our goal here is to acknowledge that, first of all, I guess we just want to be able to independently test, or them to acknowledge that our animals have natural immunity now. I don't know where the word natural immunity got lost. I don't know. But fight for that. We're fighting for policy reform and change. It needs to be revised. We need to look at our farmers, and we need to protect them, not attack them. But I really hope that we get independent testing to prove their overall health, not just for us, but for public concern, if there is people who are concerned. Our biggest win out of this has been the education that we've been able to provide for a lot of people. And we've been able to dispel the myth out of the fear of the H5N1. And so I really do believe that if we didn't take this stand for the last 6 months, and we've had this momentum, that we may have been in a position to be closer to the next pandemic or plandemic from them. Because all we've done is just keep opening everybody's eyes to look. We're around these animals every day. They're saying that we have this really rare novel reassortment of H5N1 that they've never seen in Canada. That is not true. It has been seen before. It's just underreported. And it's half of a high path, half low path. So it's not a high path, which I know lots of people might not understand. But we have the ability
Bottom line,
to.
what you're saying is it's not that virulent, basically. Yeah.
No, that right. And if it was that big of a public threat and health concern, why has Canadian Food Inspection Agency not been on our farm in over 4 months? Why have they not been here to test these animals, to test the water, to test the soil, and see what's happening here? But we know why. Because they don't want our research that we have here. They do not want us promoting antibodies and resilience by, natural resilience. They want to keep promoting vaccinations. They want to keep promoting the next pill you need to take for the next thing. And we stand in the way of that. And that's become pretty evident that by these organizations that take direction, or from the World Animal Health Organization, which answers to the World Health Organization, which takes lead from the United Nations. We're not dealing with a Canadian governing body here anymore. We're dealing with something much
bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, you're developing antibodies through the eggs of these ostriches, and it could help us with any kind of virus that we may be struggling with, or any kind of illness that we may be struggling with. So you want to turn this project into a therapeutic supplement. And so it's a natural way to fight immunity. And these ostriches are providing the raw materials, if you will, for this therapeutic supplement.
And we are not injecting them with vaccinations to do this, or viruses. It is a very safe procedure, and it is Dr. Pellick actually explains it very well on a Shadow Davis show that we did, dispelling the myths about how the process is handled and how it's no threat. It is of no threat to the ostrich's health, and it's all natural, where their body goes into a natural immune response to produce antibodies, which get put into their egg, and then all we need to do is take the yolk, and we use the IgYs out of the egg to create natural therapeutic options. To better human and animal welfare, and they are a beautiful animal.
I did listen to that podcast. Yeah,
Okay.
I did listen to that podcast, and it does get a bit complicated in terms of the science. So what I will do in the show notes is I'll actually put a link to that interview with the researcher from UBC.
That would be wonderful. Yeah, Education
Yeah.
and awareness. Educate. Before we become afraid as Canadians, we need to educate ourselves. And you know, we have these organizations hold a key place. Canadian Food Inspection Agency holds a key valued place. But we just need to redefine maybe their mandates and what does that look like? Because right now it's working against us, whereas we need to redefine it, make it work for us, and protect our farmers, our people, and our future.
Yeah.
So
No, and
we
we
are
do need to
having
do that. It is, yeah, it's a group effort, definitely.
we're having a farm aid concert here in Edgewood, British Columbia this weekend. That is here at the farm, so you can go to farmaidcanada.com. Tamara Leach was wonderful to reach out and start to plan this concert. We're going to have about 13 to 14 bands, and we're going to have some speakers here. Arthur Pulowski will be joining us Saturday, Sunday. And we just have, this is a great opportunity again. We are raising money for our legal fees. We're about $400,000 to $500,000 in legal fees by the time we're done Ottawa. And we're also looking at starting an association. The association is going to be for all small farmers, giving them a platform, a safety net, where they can speak their voice, get heard. We can try to work together and collaborate to make change, as well as try to create a fund. So if another farm is going through something like we are going through, they don't need to feel alone, and they don't need to feel that they don't have the support of money, that they would be able to be supported by the association that they've become part of. So we're working really hard on that right now, and just giving back to the farmers that deserve the support.
And that's a wonderful effort to support everyone, Farm Aid Canada. And the website is farmaidcanada dot. Let's just make sure I get it right here. farmaidcanada.com, is it?
Yeah, yeah. And if
And
anybody
then,
wishes
mhm.
to donate to us and to follow our stories, you can go to saveourostriches.com. And every prayer, share, and donation is it's really appreciated. You can imagine when they put you under quarantine, they restrict all of your avenues of income. They do everything. So we are fighting this on donation and staying alive here by donation. And we just want to say thank you to everybody who's already donated and to those people who've shared and prayed, because we wouldn't be here without you. And we wouldn't be fighting this for all of us without you. And together we are stronger. So, and you can go to my Facebook page. I try to do as many posts and live videos with the beautiful ostriches to show you how wonderful they are doing almost every day.
Yeah, and you mentioned other farmers just before we kind
Yep.
of wind down here. You're doing such wonderful, wonderful work. I've watched this happen to other farmers here in Canada. Are there any other cases that stand out to you right now? Other farmers that are being exploited by the government where there's too much overreach? I hear so many stories. Is there anything that stands out to you right now? Because I know you're not alone in this.
No, we're getting contacted by farmers almost every day that have the same concerns, or they sit there with fear, knowing that, not a lot of farmers have had the opportunity or nor thought of thinking of reading the policy of what would happen to them if Canadian Food Inspection Agency came on their property based off suspicion or something. So a lot of people, by hearing our story, have definitely been reaching out. And one farmer from the Fraser Valley, that stands out a bit. He had about 70,000 partridges and that had to be culled and killed. That was based off a PCR test ran at 39 cycles. I had asked him, I said, do you have your lab results? This is what I found out after. But prior to finding that out, I said, do you have your lab results? Well, no. Do you have compensation? Have you been paid out yet? No. And I was like, but they've killed all of your animals. So it's, and then it's like that aha moment, like, well, you're right. I didn't get my lab results. I don't even have money yet. I've been stuck with the bill to clean up my barn that they just killed everything in. And he's, when you're an aging farmer, that is where we're losing our farmers, is because who wants to keep going through that process and seeing everything, your hard work and all these animals, which you do love, be suffer and killed in brutal ways that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency does not show up for? They sit behind a desk and they push the paper and they sign off call orders like there's no tomorrow. But they're really operating like a bunch of kids running around with a bunch of loaded handguns, shooting aimlessly. And they don't have any repercussions for the fallout of what they're shooting at. And we need to bring that back to accountability, bring that back to transparency, fix the erosion in the trust in these broken and flawed systems, restore the faith in Canadians that organizations can work for us, and we just need to stay united and come together.
And people need to support this cause. It is so important to every single person in Canada and actually throughout the world, because if there's too much government overreach in any country, the compromise is going to be the loss of the small family farms. And we need them. We need to maintain our food supply. Otherwise, like you said earlier, those who control the food supply control us. And, it could be another, if we're not careful, it could be another Soylent Green all over again. We're all going to be eating airsats food, and we don't want that. So, but you've had the support of Dr. Oz and RFK Jr. Do you have anything to share on that front? So it was getting two big names involved in your story. So that was helpful, I hope.
It was. It was for us, like for Canadians and for internationally people to hear that these people would take the time to consider the offer that they did, RFK and Dr. Oz, and put their name on this and really understand what we're fighting for. But Canada met that with silence. So John Catsimatidis out of New York has been an instrumental piece of my life lately, just giving me amazing advice and helping me with momentum, trying to get to the top. And I've been in touch with Dr. Oz since, and John Catsimatidis all the time. And they are still very frustrated of the Canadian government's unwillingness to collaborate with them, especially when they worked with them so closely through COVID, the NIH and the FDA, and they had such strong relationships. But now all of a sudden with H5N1, there's no relationship. But I think, with that we can become the force that where we restore justice, we protect life. We have that ability to rewrite the story of our country, our nation, and we need to just show them what happens when we come together and we believe in something so strong, like our health and our nutritional food supply, and the farmers that have dedicated their lives to being our backbone of our countries.
Absolutely. And on that note, that sounds like a great note to end on. I know you're a busy lady. You've got lots to do. Is there anything that we missed speaking about? We've talked about Farm Aid Canada. We've talked about your appeal coming up. Is there anything that you want to share with our listeners here?
Just a big thank you. Thank you to you, Pam, for continuing to put information out there and interviews and that we need so desperately to hear. Thank you to your audience and everybody who continues to follow stories like this and learn the real truth and pick a really a good strong side to fight with. And if we all become unified, we have that ability to create change. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you for all the work that you're doing. And to the listeners, please refer to the show notes. I'm going to be putting all the links there for reference. And Katie, perhaps another update after the court appearance. I think you said July 15th, right? So it's just coming up around the corner.
Yep, it is. So lots of prayers and lots of positive energy from everybody, please.
Indeed. I'll be sending you plenty of prayers and positive thoughts. So thanks so much for the work you're doing.
Thank you for taking your precious time to join me today. If you're interested, I have another podcast called Truth Over Spin, where I cover more subjects in the area of media propaganda and the corruption in science. If you would like more information about my health coaching services, please visit my website at www.pamkilleen.com. And now for the disclaimer. For personalized health guidance, or if you have specific medical concerns, please consult a qualified medical professional. They can assess your individual health needs and offer recommendations tailored to you. By listening to our podcast, you agree to this disclaimer. We assume no responsibility or liability for actions taken based on the information provided herein.